It's time. I've been making videos for around 2 years now, and I've done a pretty good job at dodging this dude. You know the guy. Clickbaity titles such as "Please don't quit, you win," and "Okay, I admit it." All of which were released consecutively, which might explain why around 1.7% of his 1.7 million subscribers actually watch his videos. It is, of course, Onision, the man with rosacea and the cold, steely eyes of a seasoned serial killer. And today, he's talking transphobia. Not the actual kind of transphobia, but rather a definition he made up.
Gender. Female. Gender. Male.
Yes, those are the two genders, Greg. Well done, mate. It's not often you see someone who looks like a homeless heroin addict get two things right in a row.
Gender neutral.
Is something that's used to describe words, events, and even objects, but not people. Unless you agree you can treat people like objects, Greg. Like tell them to get tattoos saying "I'm a liar" and chain them up in your basement for a week. Sounds like something you did, doesn't it?
It. That's right. Some people prefer to be called it, like the clown.
The clown was called Pennywise, you idiot, and even then, still not a gender.
There's also a plural gender. Female. Not sure what that means.
Yeah, that one has me stumped too. I guess it means multiple personalities, in which case, all women are female plural.
Plural gender male. I still don't know what that means.
Well then why did you include it? You know, when it comes to subjects of which you have no knowledge, it's considered pretty good form to not talk about them like you do. And while we're here, Greg, are you sponsored by Jump Cuts or something? And I know you overlap your sound to stop people making response videos like this, and you probably think you're being so clever. But I'm gonna do it, Greg. Even if I have to isolate your voice from cut to cut, I'm gonna do it.
Plural mixed, as in guy, girl, whatever.
I like how you're currently advocating multiple genders, but then only use male and female as an example of mixed. Where are the other 73, Greg? Did you forget about them?
Plural neutral. I guess here they're talking about they, them.
More than one neutral? You can't. What does that mean? You can't have more than one neutral because what would you call the thing that's in between them? There is no in between. What? There is no in between. There are only two neutrals. Oh, wow.
And unspecified.
Yes, as in I'd rather not say because it has no bearing on what I'm trying to do, rather than my doctor was too busy to assign my gender or I haven't been on Tumblr long enough to decide.
And you may be wondering, who the heck came up with this list?
Tumblr!
Right, that would be, I think, the largest website in the world, Facebook.
Oh, well, I stand corrected. I was wrong, Greg. I'll go chain myself up in your basement, shall I?
Facebook recognizes all of these genders or lack thereof.
And why would they do that, do you think? Is it to be inclusive to those whose biggest issue is what other people call them? Or is it to get as many users as possible to mine their data for the purposes of targeted advertising? Is the biggest website in the world going for inclusivity or money? Tough call.
And I just want to educate you on something real quick.
Oh, yay! We're about to get educated by the personification of a school shooting.
This is the transgender topic over time.
No, it's a breakdown of references to transgender and transsexual from BBC News up until 2014, which is around about the time some people started sporting Hitler Youth haircuts and telling people it made them trans.
Another graph to make it more clear.
I think you'll find that's actually a bar chart, Greg. You can tell because it's a chart made of bars.
The trans topic in 2016 and 17.
Well, we're gonna have to take your word for that, aren't we? Seeing as there's no title besides annual referrals, it could be about anything. But if it is about transgenderism, have you noticed how it's still split up into boys and girls? Funny that.
This is people searching for the trans topic on Google. This is agender.
Not a lot of interest in that one until 2013. I wonder what happened. Probably college.
Non-binary.
Same again. Nothing until around 2013, which is especially weird considering non-binary is also a term used in trading stocks. The LGBT army really claimed that one for themselves, didn't they?
Gay.
You're gay!
Clearly no one cares about straight.
Well, you say that, but what's going on here? And it's not like the graph's ever at zero, Greg. Looks like it's been pretty consistent, actually. Do you not understand graphs or something?
This is, yeah, that's the graph for straight people. Here's a graph signifying people identifying as a member of LGBT over time.
Not surprising, considering they keep adding categories. It's a numbers game, isn't it? Give it a couple of years and they'll include anyone who accidentally finished their porn session while the camera was focused on the guy. Like, but I didn't mean to. Doesn't matter, you're LGBT now. But I'm not gay. You don't have a choice. Get in the parade.
A huge increase in same-sex couples.
No, Greg, a huge increase in married same-sex couples since Supreme Court rulings in 2013 and 2015. 2013. June 2013 was United States versus Windsor, which led to federal recognition of same-sex marriage, and June 2015 led to the ruling that same-sex couples had the fundamental right to marry on the same terms and conditions as opposite-sex couples, so it's not really huge news that there was an increase in same-sex marriage after those times, is it? Why even bother including the title if you're gonna ignore it?
But what the hell is my point, right?
More like, what was the point in that?
So the APA classified homosexuality as a mental illness for 23 years. A lot of people rejected it, acted like it was terrible.
Yeah, in 1950. What do you want from them, Greg? What does that prove? That things were different back then? I agree. But what does it do for whatever you're trying to say? You might as well just go, you know, the perception of things that exist have been known to change with time.
But we all know how it turned out when people tried to cure homosexuality like it was some kind of disease. It just didn't work.
Again, yes, that is also a thing that happened. What's next, Greg? Bloodletting in the Middle Ages? Trepanning in the Neolithic period? What's your point, Greg?
A lot of people try to deny their own gayness, doesn't work out. They wind up in marriages that are a total lie.
Yep, maybe they even pester their wife to get a girlfriend even though she doesn't want one. Sounds familiar?
But guys, whether you like it or not, we used to not accept gay people primarily as a society. The future belongs to people who grow with the times.
Well, even now, most organized religions don't accept them, and they're doing pretty well. You have a right to not accept something or dislike someone. As long as you aren't going out and beating them up, who cares?
Being trans isn't a trend, being gay isn't a trend, it's just who people are.
Gay? No. That goes way back into history. Transitioning is far from a trend too, but I'm talking real trans, not this non-binary gender fluid nonsense. If we go back to your graphs, gay? Sure, not a trend. Pretty consistent, right? Same for straight, but then let's look at agender. Nothing until quite recently. Now let's look at non-binary. Again, nothing until quite recently. So it looks like they are trends, doesn't it? Just like there has been for every generation. Trans trenders are basically the new emo. And how many emos do you know in their early 30s? I'll wager none, because it was a trend.
And society is going to accommodate people more and more based on who they naturally are. Gay marriage used to be seen as something that was totally impossible.
Impossible? No, Greg, it was seen as immoral. And as for accommodating for who they naturally are with sexuality, yeah, fine. With genuine transgenders, sure, go ahead. But with people who say they're no gender or demigender or a unicorn or whatever, no, that's a generational fad, mate. They're like the fidget spinners of people.
A lot of people didn't support it whatsoever, and yet now it's a thing. Women used to not be able to vote. Black people used to not be able to vote. Black people, in fact, were once slaves. My point is
that some people just can't seem to get over events that happened long before they were born and use it as some kind of social currency to elevate their status.
Is if your position is oppression, denying people who they are, you will be conquered.
Wow, so be accepting or we'll crush you. Not very accepting of you, is it?
And it doesn't take a genius to figure this out. It's obvious. Fact of the matter is, gender is a social construct.
What? No, Greg, no. Gender roles are a social construct. Gender is biology, buddy. We're born with gender. It's observed across the natural world. It's not something that gets given to you when you hit puberty.
It's the very definition of it. Gender is a social construct, and clearly society has decided what gender is, regardless of what you have to say about it.
Let's break that down. The very definition of gender is that it's a social construct. Let's have a look. No, not seeing that bit anywhere, but let's say you're right. Let's say society has deemed gender to be a feeling and we must respect that feeling. What's transphobia? Also a feeling. What's homophobia? Another feeling. So why is one feeling more valid than another, Greg? And let's be clear, we're talking about how you feel about someone, not going out and cracking them over the skull with a bike lock. Why must one feeling be respected and praised and another, as you put it, conquered? In the great timeline, transphobia's been around way longer than people saying gender's in your head. So if I had to bet on which one will last longer, my money's on the transphobes.
Black people used to not be able to marry white people, but we stopped oppressing people over time.
Oh, very true, but black people actually exist, don't they? Don't they?
We almost always stop oppressing people when an aspect of our society grows in such a significant way as the trans community.
Yeah, I mean, if you were talking about actual trans people, I'd be with you. They go through a lot, and at the end of the day, they deserve to live out their lives just like anyone else. But you're talking about trans trenders, Greg. That's why that community's grown so much. Teenagers trying to be non-conforming and somehow ending up under the same umbrella without seeing or caring about the damage they're doing to it. In my day, we rebelled by listening to music that our parents considered to be noise, hang around outside shops and try and score some cigarettes. But nowadays, they try to redefine biology.
You see this guy? He's super old. He's hanging on to the good old days when his simple mind could actually comprehend the way the world worked.
Or he's displaying how he feels about something in much the same way we have parades to celebrate sexuality. He's allowed to have his own thoughts and outlook, Greg. You don't have to agree with him, but you shouldn't shun him for it either. Otherwise, you're being a bit of a fascist when it comes to feelings, aren't you? And according to your video so far, that's a bad thing.
He could not get with the times, and he's going to be forgotten in time. Here's a man looking angrily at a little girl. I just can't.
Oh yeah, a kid standing defiantly in the face of someone they disagree with is fine. Unless they're a white male from Covington, then it's wrong. Not to mention how these progressives have weaponized their own children. I guarantee that little girl was told to stand there and wave that flag when she has little to no clue what's going on, let alone have any strong feelings when it comes to Christianity's stance on homosexuality.
What? Long story short, to all the anti-trans YouTubers, to all the anti-trans people, I know you're obsessed with this invalidating campaign.
Anti-trans? No. Obsessed? Also no. Worried for the damage trans-trenders are doing to the way actual transgenders are perceived? Sure. Calling out illogical claptrap from those intent on being seen as all-accepting while simultaneously and hypocritically ostracizing those who don't fit into their newfangled worldview? You betcha.
But people have been trying to invalidate other human beings for the last, since the beginning of time. So long story short, love wins.
Oh yeah, every single war throughout history has been won by love. But this is the hypocrisy I'm talking about, Greg. Love everyone, except for those who don't love everyone. You can hate them.
And if you're trans, you're valid. If you're gay, you're valid. In fact, most every single trans person I've ever seen, they don't transition in an instant like a light switch.
Not genuine transgenders, no, but for the rest of them, it's as simple as putting on a pair of trousers. In fact, it's literally putting on a pair of trousers.
It takes time. So none of us should be invalidating anyone who's in the middle, on one side or the other.
What? But that's what you've been doing this whole video. If love always wins, Greg, love transphobes. If everyone's feelings are valid, love homophobes. You preach about accepting people for who they are, but you aren't doing it yourself, are you?
Because we don't know their life, we don't walk in their shoes. But this is just my fair warning to you. Times are changing.
All right, Bob Dylan.
And if you don't change with them, you'll be left behind.
Oh, so that's what's happening to your channel, is it? I can see why you're virtue signaling so hard.
So today's the day to accept the trans community, to stop invalidating people as you have no idea what they're going through.
And I can say exactly the same thing regarding those who feel uncomfortable around these people, Greg. Do you not see this? How do you not see this?
And the reason you have trouble understanding trans people, the reason that you can't seem to accept it, is because your brain is old.
Or I prefer to make up my own mind rather than take life advice from someone who's made a living by judging the partially nude bodies of underage teenage girls.
It's incapable of change, it's incapable of growth, and you're just like that old man shaking his fist at the sky.
Who? Abraham Simpson? There are worse people you could be. And this picture here, this is what I'm talking about, Greg. Not people who've actually transitioned to alleviate their body dysphoria and just want to get on with their lives, but those who cause a big stink about pronouns and say things like gender is a state of mind. Those are the dudes I'm talking about. They're not trans, and I'm not transphobic. I just don't like attention-seeking idiots.
Complaining about how these damn kids are so blah blah blah. Be a decent person, don't completely fail at the basic concept of human evolution.
Oh, so it is a new state of human evolution, is it? Homo erectus, Homo sapien, Homo wingus.
And adapt to your situation, because otherwise, it's the end for you socially.
And there's some more of that love you keep going on about.
And you can hang out in your little hate groups, but LGBT is moving forward. With or without you. And yes, eventually mentalities like this will be taking over the entire world.
See, I don't think they will. Let's go back to another graph. Here we have the ascent of the fandom, as it were. Right now, I think we're about here on the timeline. We probably have a couple more years until these people start getting jobs, as long as they don't think they're gender fluid full time, and then it'll go all the way back down, with only a few hardcore fans clinging on, maybe collecting some relics from times past. Because once people grow up and the next generation creates their own rebellion, trans trenders will go the same way as fidget spinners. Thanks for watching, guys. Please consider becoming a patron so I can spend all my time thinking about my gender. And check me out on BitChute, where you don't need to be transphobic to be transphobic. The links are in the description, and remember, I went this whole video without fucking swearing.